It was exactly 2:38 in the morning when my alarm went off, not the one that makes noise or flashes lights, but a silent one, a system most people don't even know exists. Within seconds, I received a secure text message on my encrypted device. Unauthorized entry detected. Front entrance. Homeland Security notified. I stared at the screen for a moment, heart calm, but mind already racing. I opened the live camera feed and saw three figures moving inside my living room. One had a flashlight, another a clipboard, and the third held a crowbar in his gloved hands. All three were dressed in dark clothing, moving slowly but confidently, like they had a right to be there. They didn't. They weren't burglars. They weren't police officers. They weren't anyone with any legal authority. They were my HOA officers, and what they didn't know, what they could never have imagined, was that they had just broken into the house of a man contracted by Homeland Security, and that everything they were doing was being streamed live to a federal command room in real time. Let's rewind. My name is Brandon Keller. I'm a cybersecurity consultant. I live just outside Arlington, Virginia, in a quiet suburban neighborhood full of identical lawns, HOA rules, and the occasional nosy neighbor. The kind of place where people hold garage sales on Saturdays, and the biggest scandal is when someone doesn't bring their trash bins in by 10 a.m. I moved here 3 years ago, mostly because it was close to DC, but still had enough space to breathe. I work from home, mostly on sensitive government-related contracts. Sometimes those contracts involve helping federal agencies track down dangerous cyber threats and infrastructure vulnerabilities. Because of that, my home is equipped with layers of security far beyond what any ordinary homeowner would ever need. To the outside world, I look like a quiet guy with weird hours who keeps his blinds closed and doesn't attend HOA barbecues. That was enough to make me suspicious in the eyes of people like Marla Kingsley and Mark Denson, two of the HOA board members, especially after I repainted my front door. Yes, that's what this all started over, a door. I had my front door repainted in a deep, rich shade of red. It was a strong color, not flashy or neon, just bold and classic. The kind of red you'd find on a historic townhouse in Boston. Within days, I received an unsigned letter in my mailbox accusing me of violating the HOA's design standards. It was passive-aggressive and vague, but I knew for a fact the community guidelines allowed for a range of front door colors, including red. I ignored it. A week later, I got another letter, this time official, with a community board header, demanding that I appear at a hearing to address noncompliance. I responded respectfully, citing the guidelines and explaining that my door was within code. I also declined to attend the hearing. That's when the tone shifted. I started getting violation notices, all without clear explanation. I received emails warning me that noncompliance could result in escalated enforcement, but still, no real rule was being cited, just vague language about aesthetic harmony and community uniformity. I brushed it off as petty HOA drama. What I didn't know was that these people were prepared to go further than anyone ever should for the sake of their so-called rules. That night, when they broke in, they didn't expect resistance. They thought I'd be asleep. They thought they could sneak in, take photos of supposed violations, and use them to force me into repainting my door, or worse. But my house isn't like others. Within seconds of their entry, a series of federal alerts were triggered. Cameras recorded their faces, fingerprints were logged, and heat signatures tracked their movement. And as I watched from my phone, I was already on a secure call with Agent Park, my DHS contact. "Do not engage," he said firmly. "We're moving in." 15 minutes later, two black SUVs rolled down opposite ends of my street. No sirens, no lights, just quiet, controlled federal response. Tactical agents dressed in black entered my home with precision, moving silently through the entryway. I watched on the feed as they raised their weapons and shouted, "Federal agents!" Hands in the air. Two of the intruders, Mark and Marla, immediately dropped to the floor, stunned. The third, a man named Tom Ritter, bolted for the front door. Bad choice. An agent tackled him on the front steps. He tried to fight back and was immediately subdued. In the process, his wrist was fractured. He screamed as they cuffed him and shoved him into the back of the vehicle. Within 45 minutes of their entry, all 3 HOA board members were in federal custody. By sunrise, they were in an off-site federal processing center being questioned not by local police, but by Homeland Security investigators. Their excuses were pathetic. They claimed they were conducting an inspection because I had ignored summons and that they had received multiple complaints. They even tried to suggest that I might be running something illegal inside my home. The agents weren't buying it. Neither was I. They were charged with federal trespassing, breaking and entering into a protected property, interference with a federal investigation, and misuse of authority. That last part, it came to light that they had zero official permission from the HOA board to conduct any kind of inspection. They had acted entirely on their own. The local news caught wind of the story within 24 hours. Headlines read, HOA officers arrested in Homeland Security raid. The neighborhood was in shock. What followed was pure chaos for the association. Residents began demanding transparency. Other stories surfaced: fake fines, threats, unapproved fees. A group of homeowners petitioned to dissolve the board. Within 2 weeks, all 3 officers had resigned. By the end of the month, the HOA was officially disbanded after a community vote. I kept mostly quiet during the drama. I didn't make statements. I didn't do interviews. But when the time came, I testified in federal court. Mark and Marlo were sentenced to 18 months probation, 100 hours of community service, and court-ordered restrictions from holding any HOA or community leadership positions for 5 years. Tom, who resisted arrest, received an additional 9 months in a federal holding facility. The judge was blunt during sentencing. You let petty authority turn into criminal behavior, he said. You invaded a home not just protected by law, but by federal security clearance. You didn't just cross a line, you blew through it. I never saw any of them again. They quietly sold their homes, moved out, and disappeared from a neighborhood. As for me, I still live in the same house. I still work long, strange hours. My door is still red, brighter than ever. Neighbors greet me differently now, not with suspicion, but with respect. Some even ask for cybersecurity advice. I didn't ask for any of this. I never wanted to be the center of attention. But when people like that believe their fake power gives them the right to invade your life, you have 2 choices. Let it go, or remind them that the law still matters. And sometimes, when you're lucky, the law shows up in 2 black SUVs before the sun rises. Because every now and then, karma wears a badge, and it doesn't knock.